This is Byron and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 182 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
There's a lot of things up, including a lawsuit that has popped back up after a settlement. We're going to get into that in Racket.
Ooh, you're popping a lot today.
Yeah, I know. You see that?
I see that.
We'll get right into that. That's interesting news, to say the least. Oregon is the first state to do something in the real estate industry.
Wow.
And Marketeer of the Week, we've got one. So stay tuned for that. All right.
Or maybe we don't have one.
Yeah, no, we do.
No.
Justice Department, DOJ, withdraws from its settlement, its antitrust settlement that it had with the National Association of Realtors. Okay, so there are at least there's many
billions
articles,
of articles, yes.
There's a Wall Street Journal article that I thought was pretty good, warning to the real estate cartel. We can go through
An
that.
opinion piece. Yep.
That's an opinion piece, but I thought it breaks down a bunch of good information there.
Yep.
The Justice Department will take a new look at those outrageous broker fees. I would disagree with Michael Toth, who wrote that, of course. And then there's a whole bunch of good ones from
Well, I love that he called it the cartel.
The cartel, yeah.
Yeah.
Guy's a
so gangsta. It sounds so like when our gangstas.
Michael Toth, totally bitter, probably has bought and sold once in his life.
Okie doke.
And so here we go. Way to go, Michael. From
Maybe we should
Wall
search
Street
him
Journal.
before we start throwing stuff like that again.
I don't care. All right. But Inman's got a bunch of good articles. Andrea, who we cover all the time, Brambilla, she has one. NAR cut a deal with Trump DOJ to undermine commission suits. This is according to the Consumer Federation of America's assertions. They're saying that basically what happened was, yes, the Department of Justice under the Trump administration is when the settlement was made. It was when the lawsuit was made and the settlement coincided, basically. And we'll go through the timeline in a second. And then now, new administration, Department of Justice, is backed out. By the way, this is the first time ever in the history of these types of things that a federal antitrust authorities have agreed to a proposed settlement only to back out of said settlement. First time that's ever happened. So it definitely means they want to look at this closer. They are serious about this. They wouldn't make this a first time thing if they weren't serious about it. Let's go into the timeline in case you haven't been following. If you plan on staying in real estate, you should start following this. November 19th, 2020, the announcement, the DOJ announced the suit on November 19th of last year. The complaint ran 11 pages long. We covered it. Pointed to a handful of practices that regulators deemed anti-competitive. Now, coinciding with the lawsuit was a settlement that NAR and DOJ both negotiated together and said, we're going to change these things. We're putting this into motion right now. We're going to go ahead and make these changes. Okay. And so they actually started working on those. So November 20th, the next day, speculation grows. The days following the lawsuit's announcement were dominated by analysis. So Jay Thompson, who I want to get into one of his pieces as well here, a new one, argued that the case would ultimately be good for the industry because it would increase transparency, which I think we both agreed at the time.
We always agreed that we wanted transparency, yes.
More transparency, the better. And so some of those changes that were going to make things more transparent, like the lockbox change, I thought that was probably pretty good. I mean, for too long, real estate has been a black box, which enabled anti-competitive price collusion and misinformation. Okay, we both agree that we want to get away from those things. Okay, so now go all the way to this year, March 23rd, 2021, changes in the works. NAR spokesperson Mantiel Williams told Inman the trade group was still working through the details of the settlement. He said the process could ultimately take months. Maybe NAR wasn't moving fast enough for DOJ. I don't know. And I don't know what the settlement said, how quickly they had to move on this, but hope that NAR
it does sound
have the changes worked
again,
out.
as you read further, though, it does sound like NAR was unwilling to make some changes for DOJ.
On May 11th, 2021, NAR's general counsel and chief member experience officer Katie Johnson, chief member experience officer Katie, let's get to know each other here. Discuss.
So what's her? She's a CME.
Yeah, she's a lot of things there.
CME.
Discuss a number of lawsuits NAR was fighting, such as those dubbed the where the homeowners have basically done these class action lawsuits, as well as the DOJ case. She specifically revealed that NAR was still negotiating its settlement in the DOJ case. So they started to renegotiate. DOJ wanted some other changes to the settlement they made with NAR. NAR was like, no, we agreed on these changes. We're moving forward with these. We're not going to start to add more stuff to the pot here, right? June 15th, 2021, new regulators on June 15th. Linda Kahn took over as the chairperson of the Federal Trade Commission. Though FTC is not involved in the DOJ case, it's tasked with investigating what it deems unfair and deceptive trade practices. And she's been a vocal advocate of updating antitrust laws to reflect new realities in the marketplace. And so that was a big moment here with upheaving this DOJ settlement. June 2nd. Why would they go from June 15th to June 2nd on the timeline here? Maybe it was 20 something. DOJ gets into pocket listings. Okay, so no, they go June 15th to June 2nd. DOJ argued that a judge erred when dismissing an antitrust lawsuit against NAR. So DOJ did not like sounds like a federal judge's dismissal of an antitrust lawsuit against NAR. The case was filed by the PLS, formerly a private listing network for real estate agents, argued that NAR and various MLSs broke the law when they banned pocket listings. Okay. July 1st is when the deal fell apart, and Department of Justice announced that they were abandoning their settlement, explained it was taking this action to permit a broader investigation of NAR's rules and conduct to proceed without restriction. So what they're saying is that the settlement was too restrictive, that if they wanted to go and do an antitrust lawsuit in the future for something else, it was going to prohibit them.
Yeah, right.
So that was interesting. Now, what were the changes that ultimately they agreed to? Let's recap those. And I think Jay Thompson's article does the best job of breaking that down. Okay, so that's an opinion piece. Jay Thompson, this came out on July 6th. He's saying this matters quite a bit. All right, so the rules prohibiting MLSs that are affiliated with NAR from disclosing to prospective buyers the commission that the buyer's broker will earn if a buyer purchases a home listed on the MLS. I always thought that was fine, right?
We agreed.
Let the buyer see the commission being offered to the buyer broker. I absolutely think that is fair, okay? Allowing buyer brokers to misrepresent to buyers that a buyer's broker services are free. So saying, you've heard this a lot.
Well, we hear it everywhere. Oh, no, don't worry. Agent, no, it's free.
It's free.
You don't pay for me.
Nothing's free because
you don't pay for me.
Ultimately, they're taking out the loan. They're putting the $300,000 and they're giving it to the seller, and all that commission's coming out from the seller back to.
So the buyer is
to both the agents, right?
Indirectly paying.
Correct. Yes. I mean, that's the argument. The big argument.
That's the huge argument. Right. Yes.
So basically, making it unethical for a agent to say to the buyer, oh, my services are free. Right. And so there you go there. Now and this gets into, hey, if each party, because this is unlike most transactions, right? If the seller had to pay the listing agent and the buyer had to pay the buyer agent, the buyer would be able to afford less, and those commissions on the buy side, this is the argument, and this is true, buyer commissions would go significantly down because
they'd need cash.
They would need cash to make that transaction. They wouldn't be able to borrow that in their mortgage.
Right.
And you'd see what you have in Europe, where basically buyer agents don't make anything. Okay. So there you go. They're enabling buyers brokers to filter MLS listings based on the level of buyer broker commissions offered to exclude homes with lower commissions from consideration by potential buyers. Limiting access to the lockboxes that provide licensed brokers with access to homes for sale to brokers who work for a NAR affiliated MLS. So basically, you couldn't have a rule where it's like, you've got to be licensed to get access to this lockbox. I mean, that's really going to help companies like Zillow, Open Door, Redfin, where now if the homeowner signs off on it, anybody can get access to this lockbox, a more sophisticated lockbox, probably with cameras and scanning and barcode, one-day barcodes or whatever.
Yeah, what time 100%.
Now, I don't have a problem with that either.
No. Well, they were talking about like you'd have to scan your license. I mean, that's a lot of those iBuyers at this point now too. I mean, in all honesty, you'd probably get a lot more information on the buyer if you were the seller in that type of situation because you're seeing their license. But it would be interesting too because I wonder if there would be any sort of fair housing there too because now right?
If the buyer could see the license. I don't know if the buyer would be able to see the license.
The seller.
Maybe the seller be able to see a license because to your point, we're going to get into that here on Racket number 2 with the Oregon decision there.
So what now? The listing agent would be getting
the one getting those licenses.
Information, yeah.
Interesting.
Very.
Okay. As reported by Inman NAR's Vice President of Communications, those changes which we just discussed, they were going to go ahead and start moving forward on basically those changes. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, with the seller's prior approval, a licensed real estate agent will have access to a lockbox of properties listed on the MLS, even if the agent does not subscribe to the MLS. So that's kind of, I guess, just agents. But I think where they were going with this, and it's a little gray here, that the agent with seller's approval is going to be able to give access to that lockbox to more people, including agents not associated with the MLS and potentially consumers as well. So NAR and the MLSs went as far to begin implementing these changes. Now, here's the statement to NAR reacting to the Department of Justice withdrawing from the settlement. This is a complete, unprecedented breach of agreement by the Department of Justice to withdraw its consent from a fully negotiated settlement that had been approved by the head of the Antitrust Division, and we had begun to implement. National Association of Realtors rules and policies have long sought to ensure fair and competitive real estate markets for home buyers and sellers, grounded in our commitment to act in the best interest of buyers and sellers. We regularly update our rules and policies to protect consumers and provide transparency. NAR has fulfilled all our obligations under the settlement agreement, and now DOJ is inexplicably backing out of those agreements. If the department does not live up to its commitments under the terms of the agreement, we are confident in our pro-consumer and pro-competition policies. What are they saying there with the last line? They're saying, we'll see you in court, DOJ. We'll settle this there. We feel very confident in going to the Supreme Court. Nicole.
So everything's on hold for now, folks.
Everything is on hold. Who do you blame here? Do you blame NAR for not negotiating more with DOJ? DOJ. Do you think NAR is right to say let's just go to court? Where are you on this? Just the withdrawal of the first time ever.
I mean, I certainly haven't been sitting there, so I don't know if NAR was necessarily dragging their feet. I guess I understand the DOJ's stance on sort of, if they do settle, they're sort of eliminating themselves from future, inquiries. But at this point, I can't even say either side. You're committing to a side. You're saying this is like, shame on you, NAR? You're saying shame on you to NAR?
No, I want you to commit to a side.
I'm certainly not committing to anything on this.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting. I do think that there's a lot of talking points here that are left to have, there are lots of conversations still left here.
Here's what's clear.
Makes sense why it's on hold.
The MLS is under attack. And I mean, it's under attack from so many angles. Zillow has obviously changed the MLS forever. And in the end, like I've said from the beginning, with all of this, who's going to get bigger? It's going to be companies like Zillow.
Absolutely.
They're going to get more control because they don't care about
Right.
NAR.
I think what's very interesting, though, is that I think that this market has also brought to light even more issues. So it's a hot market. Buyers and sellers are everyone's pissed, but like things are moving, and I don't think that people are feeling like they're getting a fair shot. So it's all very interesting. You
don't just have the.
I mean, there's
you don't just
article
have this,
after article after article.
Well, you don't just have this Department of Justice, settlement with NAR on the antitrust lawsuit. You also have those big class action lawsuits from homeowners, the Morel class action, Moehrl. I don't know if that's how you say it, but we've talked about that a whole bunch. You've got several antitrust lawsuits in the process currently that are moving forward. NAR, Realogy, Keller Williams, Remax, Zillow, they're all involved in lawsuits. So when you start stacking up all of these and you have an administration right now that would like to see things like commissions come way down because they think that's going to encourage home ownership, it gets interesting to say that nothing, we'll be fine. NAR's got great lobbyists, like nothing's going to happen to the real estate agent. If good comes out of it, like more transparency for the consumer and those types of changes that we mentioned, that's a great thing. If there's restrictions on the ability for consumers and agents to negotiate commissions, and there's a cap on commissions, I mean, we're talking about a real communistic approach, in my opinion. If we're going to restrict free market, that would be terrible for the industry. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But those that's the timeline. That's what's going on.
But like you said at the top, like it's time to start following this.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah.
No question. If for nothing else, just to be able to prepare. A lot of these things are going to take time, but as we move forward, there's more information that continues, and this withdrawal by the DOJ being the first time, it could be considered a racket. I think I'd be in that category. Okay, racket number 2, Oregon becomes the first U.S. state to ban homebuyer love letters. Talked about this previously. This is potentially a fair housing issue. You get the love letter. You get more information on the buyer.
For sure.
They might include a photograph.
Most include photographs. Most include stories of their families or their situations or where they've been, where they're headed. I mean, it's...
Well, Nikki Short, who works with us here on our team, she said that when she was selling, actually in Oregon, when she used to live there, coincidentally, she received a buyer love letter from the buyer. And it included an ultrasound photo. I mean, it's
a
little weird, huh, Bobby?
I've actually had a buyer go as far as, because again, you can see who owns these homes, right? And now with like Facebook and Instagram, she started Googling the homeowners. She found out that they had the same dog that they did.
Oh, wow.
So she included
Got to give them a $5,000 deal.
She then included a picture of the dog so that there was some sort of like related. I mean, it's intense. So it's funny though, because again, we've talked about this, and obviously the concern
here.
She
didn't have to vacuum the dog hair. Hey, you got the same dog. I'm just
leave it, right?
Leave the dog hair.
Whatever it takes. It's interesting because again, we do talk about it being, very fine line on the fair housing. So as a buyer's agent, I'm always like, if someone's drafting one, I don't say no, but certainly on the listing side, I do not give them until after they've made their decision. Once they've made the decision, I will then give them the letter.
But you're no longer pushing them as an agent.
As a buyer's agent?
Right. Are you? You shouldn't be.
I'm certainly not pushing them, but I'll tell you, 10 times out of 10, I get a letter emailed to me from my buyers.
Right.
Because they think that that's now the standard and that's what's going to help them. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I can see where it causes
I'm
fair
shocked
housing
that
issues.
Listing agents are still giving them, to be quite honest. I mean,
right. Because if I'm a listing agent, I'm giving zero of them. I'm not giving any of those.
Again, I'll do it at the very end after they chose, but I'm not certainly giving them at the front end.
Because I feel like I'm fully representing the seller. I would say, hey, I've received love letters. I advise, I'm not opening them and reading them. I want to put that in an email to my seller. I'm not opening or reading these.
Yeah.
Because I could then be liable for what's in them with fair housing.
Right.
I want you to know that I've received them. I want you to make the decision on whether you want me to forward these to you or not.
I usually have these conversations when I'm listing the home. Do you have the conversation on like the listing?
I would.
Right.
Yeah. I would have that conversation.
Listen, yeah. Because again, I think some of these individuals are expecting letters.
And I want
you but they need to understand why they shouldn't be reading them.
I want you to know my advice would be to not consider or read them at all. So I'd want you to actually turn down the opportunity to read them and base each offer.
So are you then giving them the opportunity once you get it, and then they're saying no to you, or you're not even going to them and saying, hey, I have it?
No, I would say, hey, I've received these. I'm not reading them. I advise you not to read them either.
Are you reading them?
Obviously, I have them, and it's your home, and I'll forward them along if you want me to.
Yikes. I feel like you still just have to say no.
Yeah, because the agent, even I think in that situation, forward them along. Now there's no rules in 49 other states.
They're in trouble. Holy hell. In this market, everyone's pissed off.
Oregon has clear rules, which are going to start January 1. Most agents, by the way, are just going to implement this today, where they're just not going to allow, they're just going to get used to it here for the last 6 months of the year. And so there you go. Oregon, first state. I don't think that they'll be the last. I think there'll be many more to follow. And I don't think this is a racket. I'm okay with it.
I'm great with it.
I try to help consumers remove the emotional side from the transaction. This is all emotion. This really, you're making poor decisions when you're basing off of, oh, I want my home to go to somebody who I really want it to go to. It's not your home anymore. The minute you sign that paperwork, it is not your home.
Right.
Keep the memories, keep the photos, keep the videos.
Right.
It's no longer your home. Don't care if Uncle Louie built it. Don't care about any of that stuff. It's not your home anymore.
Pack it up.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And so that's our job to help people get through that process, obviously. Marketeer of the week. This is a study, so a bias study, I will even say.
It's super biased.
Is this an opinion piece? It should be. No, Andrea wrote it. Andrea Brambilla from Inman. Vast majority of real estate listings lack good visuals. This is a study, so it's not an opinion. This is a study from a company called Box Brownie. But Box Brownie
They're trying to sell their services for sure. Mm-hmm.
They would benefit. The company said, let's just virtual staging company. So there you go. The virtual staging company, Box Brownie.
But some of the numbers in here are very interesting.
Now their study, yeah, absolutely. What they've put together is very interesting.
Yes.
Now, so let's get into the actual numbers here. 94% of listings do not include a virtual tour. Okay. Now they're defining that as an immersive 360-degree tour. So they're talking Matterport.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
They're talking Matterport. So specifically, not a slideshow or PowerPoint display of images, and not a video. So we do video on 100% of listings, aerial, professional photography, floor plans, which they get into here, only 16%. I've always said, listen, at a bare minimum, 100% of listings uploaded to the MLS should have professional photos and floor plans, because you should be able to get a floor plan of the property.
Well,
now,
especially in this market too, and a lot of people aren't.
Any market
aren't true.
16% of the studied listings included a floor plan, so that's way too low. Now, at the minimum, I think you should have those two. We go as far as video, aerials, and a professional write-up on the MLS. Okay, so now they're saying only 94%, so only 6% include a virtual tour. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing, okay? We talked about in Racket number 1. You got the Department of Justice who wants agents to be paid pennies, but yet on the other side, you should have a virtual tour. Right. You should have aerials. You should have photos. You should have floor plan.
Yeah.
You should have a million different things.
And now you're paying to have it virtually staged.
Oh, yeah. Brown box.
And then now we're figuring out where the beds are going and where the Cheerios,
you should pay to work.
Yeah.
You should just pay to work. This is crazy.
But on the flip side, again, in this study, it's crazy. Keep going, because again, you're talking about 16
single family homes. Only 10% of single family homes had a floor plan, so 16% was for all.
But
homes.
as you go further down, look, 67% of buyers you just scrolled past it, want a floor plan. So yeah, I mean, it's
buyers want floor plans. I think that's probably low. I would say majority of people want to see a floor plan, because when you're looking. And a floor plan could be solved with the Matterport too.
Of course.
Right.
Well, you can pull the floor plan out of the Matterport. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So on a Matterport, you can easily walk through. It's a little more time consuming. I like the actual static floor plan. It's like, boom, that room's over there.
As long as they're right. I mean, you've seen so many on Facebook where like there's no door to get into the bedroom. Yeah. So then it's like, is that a closet, an office? Or what's very interesting is I found, and again, we've seen this even at our developments, buyers are now using those figures to figure out square footage. And I'll tell you, some listing agents are using that square footage from those floor plans too. We're like, yikes! Like sometimes they're just kids using an iPad measuring the wall. So that kind of stuff could be a little misleading too. But
yeah, in your marketing, I make sure that these are
it's disclosed that way. But I do think it gives a great sense of the spaces, especially when the photos are sometimes so choppy as to like first floor, second floor, are you in the kitchen, or like what bathroom, Yeah. Anyway.
Now, what's your thought? So 94% are doing a Matterport. Do you
94% of the people are not
doing a Matterport.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're not doing Matterport?
We are not doing Matterport currently.
What do you think about that?
Think
we're making a mistake?
I don't know that we're making a mistake. I think, well, it's interesting though, because at the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing Matterports.
Yes,
we were Matterporting everything. Yeah. We were Matterporting stores so that people could shop at stores. Well, you had to. No one was able to go anywhere. I think now it's changed a little bit. I don't know that a Matterport is as important. But to be quite honest, why not?
What? Now we're doing video.
Yes.
As opposed to the Matterport. I could make an argument that a Matterport's more important than our videos.
100% agree. Because really our videos are sort of like a highlight reel. Like it's to get people excited. It's to get them in there. I think that the Matterport is, you can look up, you can look down, you can look at you could see what the flooring is in there. You're really getting a great sense of the space where, again, we've always said, photos are the first showing. But in this, this is a true showing where, again, I know you and I have always sort of argued over the fact or agreed with the idea that, getting an offer sight unseen is scary, but if you were to do a Matterport situation, you're getting a great sense of that space.
Hey, DOJ, I think I'm going to go up on my commission and start including Matterports.
There it is.
On 100% of listings. All right. Love your comments below. What's your thoughts on DOJ dropping out of the NAR settlement? What's your thought on the first state banning love letters? And love to know if you're in the 6% of doing Matterports on 100% of your listings, or if you're in the 16% like us,
floor plans,
doing the floor plans. So love your comments.
It's interesting though, because I feel like in this market, some people aren't even doing professional photos anymore,
which is absurd. That's just wrong.
Yes.
Share this video with someone who can comment on the 3 topics. Subscribe. Please hit the notification bell, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Keep it real.